song which is a tribute to the state of Wisconsin from us, from me. From the sand dunes of Sheboygan to the steep cliffs of the Dells, where the osprey and the eagle nestle in the dell. Watch the lumbering Mississippi carve a channel deep and strong, chewing cheese curds, eating crazies. You hear the robin's sweet spring song. Wisconsin is my home. Wisconsin is my home. Wherever I may wander, wherever I may roam. Beautiful cold winters, sleighing on the snow, ice fishing cocoa. Nowhere else I'd rather know. Wild turkeys and golden guernsey, packers and brewers and badgers and bucks, Frank Lloyd Wright and Lombardi, and Hank Aaron Strunk. Crystal clear, Dog County's winding villages, lovely Green Bay, Madison, the Venison Midwest. The flight of the deer, the talk of the fish, the cities and the villages, the images of life. Wisconsin is my home. Wisconsin is my home. Wherever I may wander, wherever I may roam. John, Tommy, and Willem Dafoe, Houdini, and Gordon Gano, Liberace, and Spencer Tracy, Amy Madigan, and Susan Fear, the paintings of Georgia O'Keeffe, shimmering guitar of Les Paul, from Stevens Point to the Lloyds, Waukesha to Recreate Falls, Platteville and Quantico, Fond du Lac and Beaupré, Appleton, Little Chute, Eagle River, Partyville, Glendale. May you always be there. Don't forget the Circus World Museum in Baraboo, Milwaukee, the land of 10,000 bars. Well, they used to have 10,000. The beautiful shoreline of Lake Superior. Wisconsin is my home. Wisconsin is my home. Wherever I may wander, wherever I may roam. Wisconsin's still my home. Thank you very much.
Trying to make sense of a life, any life, is a difficult task. And when the life in question is as strange as Sigmund Snopek III's, where every new discovery opens seemingly endless possibilities, the prospect of concluding the story satisfactorily becomes nearly impossible. More than a year had passed since Tody began making his documentary, and the filmmaker had learned countless facts about the musician's long, unpredictable career. But in many ways, Sigmund Snopek remained a mystery. Everyone seemed to have a different understanding of who Sigmund was and what his story meant. But could all these conflicting accounts be combined into one unified theory, a complete history of the man himself?
How would you describe his personality? Affable, but reserved. There are a lot of things that Sigmund just doesn't talk about. He's got a daughter, he had a first marriage. He keeps his private life pretty far apart from there.
Well, life takes over. He had kids, he married, he had Beulah. I know so much about this guy. I didn't know anything. And so life takes over, right? Like Lennon says, life is what happens to you when you're making other plans, right? He survived, and, it's hard. It's a hard existence. He's not living the life of Riley, my friend. He's working.
He's had to be, such a working level musician on top of all the artistic aspirations that have gone on in the past. So he knows what it's like, I think, himself, to not get paid what he should be getting paid. And money has been tight for him, no doubt, many times. And that's where I think he knows, just like I know, that you can't totally screw your fellow musicians, or else you're sitting next to them on the bar stool and you're hearing about it.
I would say his biggest characteristic is he'd give you the shirt off his back. He is very, very giving person. Knowing sometimes financially where he's at, where he has to hustle for every penny, but then he'll be very, very giving or very generous to people. So that's one thing I value most about him.
I think, if I had to describe Snopek in one word, it would be contradictory. Now, as a human being, he's very gregarious and he's friendly and he's fun. He can be very generous, but he can also be a complete mooch and take advantage of people. And he's burned a lot of people that way. So, these things are inherently contradictory.
To spend any real length of time with Sig was to just be constantly surprised at who he was and how he thought and what he could come up with and what he could do. And, you never saw all of Sig. You only saw parts. Sometimes positive, sometimes extremely negative. No way to forecast that. No way to know beforehand. But if you began to think to yourself, that's who Sig is, you were always wrong.
Sigmund's career reminded Tody of the parable of the blind men and the elephant, in which each man tries to describe the animal but is limited to just the part that he can feel. It was fitting, too, that Sigmund had an album called Elephant that contained some of his most brilliant and emotionally complex work. As he watched Sigmund perform Just Another Gig at Just Another German-themed beer hall, Tody wondered why the musician was working instead of celebrating on the night before his wedding. Where were his friends and family? Sigmund had dedicated the past 50 years to music, but did he really have anything to show for it?
If I could change the world, I'd make the leaders the followers the leaders, the women the men, the children the adults, the sky the church, outlaw the laws, and give away cash in huge giveaway draws, take away all the guns and make life more fun.
Please give a warm Kirksville welcome
to the hardest working man in show business. Direct from the old German beer hall on 3rd and Stage. That would be too great. Mr. Trinity sees himself, Sigmund Snopek! Roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is down the stream. Merrily, merrily, roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is down. Come on, everybody, singing's good for you. It puts oxygen in your bloodstream, which sobers you up, and then you can drink some more. Roll your boat gently down the stream. Roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is flowing. Roll your boat gently down the stream. This old man, he played too. He played knick-knack on my shoe with a knick-knack.
So, if you'll just start by saying your name just directly to the camera, that way we got the record.
Okay. My name is Michael Woods. Michael Vincent Woods.
Perfect. So what's your history with Sigmund?
I met Sigmund in March, will be 10 years ago, at a bar called the Guitar Bar on Juneau and Water in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We had a jam session. There was another artist, his name was Chip, who I was playing with at the time. At the time, he thought I could only play the saxophone. And, yeah, I think.
You're good.
More comfortable with an instrument in my hand, you know.
You want an instrument?
No, I don't need an instrument, I guess.
Hold on, start that one more time. I just rolled it.
Okay, that's okay. I met Sigmund about 10 years ago. We were playing at the Guitar Bar. We met at a jam session. We had a Sunday night jam session. And after the second time of the jam session, we had it on Sundays, I worked downtown Milwaukee, and I was taking the bus home from work, and I had noticed that he was loading his blue Ford van, and I thought I should go help him because that'd be good for me, and it has been. While I was helping him load the van, he thought to himself, oh, this kid's not afraid to move equipment, which is something you do a lot of. Anyway. We've been playing together ever since.
What would you say defines him as an artist?
He's a performer. He just goes out there and does it. He doesn't care. He wants to give entertainment to people, because it's in him. And there are people that are born with that. And they go out and they do it. And I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on money and the commercial aspect of it. I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly. But I think he's a fantastic composer. I love to listen to all kinds of music. And I like to listen to his music a lot. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm thankful that I have been able to be a part of the music that we have made over the last 10 years, because it's taught me a lot musically, and also performing. I feel like I've been paying my dues. I'm going to school. I never went to college, but I'm kind of boot camp right now. The last 10 years have been training for what I want to do. I love to play my music, and I never really wanted to be rich and famous. I didn't look for money because I don't have a lot of use for it. I have uses for it because I have to have it And that's what I don't like. To eat, to have clothes, to have a place to live. You know, it's a nuisance. Because it's too unfair. The system is flawed. Anyway, getting back to what I was talking about. I'm just thankful that I've had this opportunity to learn with one of the best.
How would you put your personal narrative, like, if this is not a story, I don't want you to tell Sigmund's story, I want you to tell Valerie's story. But it seems very clear that, you know, you went through a big change over the course of the 11 years that you worked with him, and I don't really know anything about that except the little bits that I've sort of pieced together from talking to other people. And it's also something that other people seem probably reluctant to talk about, which is probably a good thing too, because it's not really their story. So, but yeah, I'm curious if you would like to tell that story.
That's true, but I think it hurts more when nobody talks about anything. So just opening those, and these are some lessons that I've learned the hard way. And I will say this, I loved Sigmund's music. I loved it and I studied it. And I remember one night we were playing at the old German beer hall and we were playing Radio Hearts. And I was playing the drums on Radio Hearts. And we get to the part that goes, digga-digga-da. And I nailed it. And we're just playing along and played the whole fucking song. And right when that digga-digga-da happened, he's like, yeah. And just kept playing it. It was fun. It was a lot of energy. And I fucking loved it, and music. And that night he'll tell me, he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, you show me that you're serious. You're a serious musician. And when we raised the bar, you're there. And that meant a lot to me. It was a wonderful way to work too. We had the stream of consciousness that we didn't really call sets. You know, we'd write set lists. It was just call songs. Hey, what do you want to play? All right, sometimes he'd suggest songs, sometimes I'd suggest songs. And everything was just a great time until the end. I mean, we had our ups and downs. And I probably quit 3 or 4 times. I remember one time at the Esterbrook Beer Garden, I had gotten really drunk. This is probably 2012. I had gotten really drunk that day, and we were having a fight. And I was pissed off, and he left me there with all my gear. And I had to get a ride home with my roommate because he was one of the bartenders there. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not doing this anymore. He's like, fine, fuck you.
Yeah. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them blue for me and you. I think to myself, what a wonderful way. I see skies of blue, clouds of white.
So I've never met Valerie, but I'd love to. I hope to meet Valerie.
She's going to be in the film.
Is she going to be in the film? Okay, good, because I would love to meet Valerie. I haven't seen Mike or Valerie in a long time. But I used to do shows with them. I was the girl singer in that band. That's a term that, like, old guys use. Like, you're the girl singer, right? So, anyways, I was the girl singer in that band with Mike and Siggy. Well, I mean, Mike's a good guitar player. He's a great singer. He's a great horn player. I mean, Mike brought a lot of things to the table, you know? I mean, as a live performer. Because Sigmund kind of, with all of the synthesizers he has, you know, because he creates sometimes that bed of sound, then it was good that he had Mike, because Mike could do all these different, you know, he could sing, he could play horns, he could play guitar, he could play bass. I mean, I think it was like every really intense dynamic in a band. It's like it's really good on stage, and it's really professional and it was good. And then, you know, it's like clouds. People come together and then they split apart and people change. But if there's intensity that happens with everyone in every relationship, and I mean, you could feel that energy was building between them, but it could also be because the energy builds so that you can break away to become other things, you know, to change and grow. And obviously, because I didn't know, I still have to meet Valerie, so things have changed, you know?
Did you have any sense of that when you were working with Mike?
Not at all.
Trans wasn't something that I knew existed, and I think that was big part of the problem, and I think a big part of my growth and realization. Took some time, took some searching, a lot of questions, a lot of pain, personal and professional, to try to figure out who I am or who I thought I was. I know one of the first songs I wrote was I Need a New Name, that I recorded with my new, at the time, M-Audio 88 ES MIDI controller, semi-weighted. Went through a lot of changes too. I used to have a joke that I used to be a big fat white guy. Sometimes it's hard to look at the pictures, but mostly I'm looking at myself in those pictures because I like to see how far I've come. 2008, I weighed 380 pounds. And it took me 10 years. In 2018, I got down to 198 pounds. And a lot of that was because I was being so active. One of the reasons I'm just working so hard to get as fit as I am, or as I want to be, as I always think of Hedwig and the Angry Inch and leaving an exquisite corpse. That's one of my favorite movies. Anyway, after that, Emily supported us, and eventually we got pregnant, had our little baby, and those were some interesting hard times, and she did a fantastic job. She carried us. She worked hard.
Let's hear it for Emily, come on. It was Emily that helped pull her out of me. And help me realize who I am, because I always had my particulars, you know, I mean, I would try on women's underwear and wear women's underwear. I had a friend pull me aside once and she said, hey, I was talking about my one sister's boyfriend and she's talking to him about, hey, it's not cool to wear women's underwear. I think she was trying to hint that she could tell, but I just didn't care. And Emily helped me explore that. She encouraged it. I owe her everything. After realizing who I was and who I wanted to be, we kind of played with the idea a little bit, and I started wearing dirndls to the beer hall as a joke. They thought, you know, just because Emily started singing with us, and she's a fantastic vocalist. She's got a wonderful, beautiful voice and a brilliant musical mind. And she can harmonize like a motherfucker.
I started wearing the dirndls, and Sigmund kind of, I tried to get him to wear his lederhosen. When I wear the dirndls, he would just wear plain clothes. But when I didn't, he would wear his lederhosen. So I think he was kind of being resistant to that and being weird in some kind of way. Denise started wearing her dirndls. Emily, you know, she was on board. She wore her dirndls. I wore my dirndls. So we were the Sigmund and we didn't really have a name. But, you know, we would look like a band. It looked like we played together all the time. But no, he just wanted to wear plain clothes. And then in 2015, when I came out, tension started to grow with Sigmund. I would mention that, yeah, it actually felt really good for me to be in that dirndl. It felt right. I remember as a child, you know, trying on my sister's dresses. She would help me. After I came out, Sigmund said the words in the van on the way. You really should have told me. We should have talked before you did this. And I'm like, no, this is me. This is about me, not about you. And he's thinking about his bottom line. He's thinking about money. He's not thinking about me and my journey to finding myself, to find out who I am. Because I can remember a couple of times, or at least one time, when I dressed as myself. And really the only thing that changed, I was wearing a tank top. I had the appearance of breasts. And I was wearing some makeup. Everything else was the same, except for the fact that he couldn't remember to call me Valerie Reed. I remember him remarking to Denise that, oh, that wasn't so bad. And him spending like 15 minutes on the phone with one of his bar owner friends, talking about, hey, is this normal? And his friend's like, yeah, dude, what fucking century are you living in? You know, this shit is, the world's changing. And it came to a point. I was at home. I can remember the night clear as day. And I regret. It's probably a good thing that I didn't hit the record on my phone. He says, hey, man. I was like, hi. So I want to talk about these dates. He starts giving me some calendar dates. I was like, okay. And he says, I need you to dress like a boy at... He asked me to present mail at 3 different clubs. Ones that he feared, I guess, were going to have an issue with me being who I was. And I said, no, I'm not going back. He says, well, then you're fired. And I kind of lost my shit at that point. I got very angry. I started swearing. And I had to give the phone to Emily so that she could finish the call. And I remember continuing to yell at him through her, but obviously that doesn't do anybody any good. It's just me being very angry and trying to express my rage. Anyway, that's kind of where it ended.
And have you talked to him at all since then?
No. I wrote him a letter telling him, I've lost all trust in you. I can't work with you anymore. And I had Emily give him the keys that night. And that was the funny thing in the call. He's just like, he's such a fucking asshole. You know, he fires me and then says, I'm coming to get my car keys because I had the van keys. And the funny thing about this is he owes me a fair amount of money. But it's just money, and I just don't care that much about it anymore. I've let all of that go. I didn't say anything about it. I could have held on to the car keys and said, hey, give me my money, motherfucker. And then made it a big thing, but it's only money. You know, if it's that important to him, he can fucking have it. Which reminds me of when I started first playing with John Seidowitz, the percussionist. And I remember him saying to me very poignantly, he says, make sure he pays you. I kind of laughed it off at the time, but I very quickly learned that he is very selfish with his money. You know, I looked up to him a lot. I loved his music. I haven't listened to it since. I deleted all that shit. I said, fuck him. I'm done with this. I slammed the door, blew up the bridge, and that was it.
Get down, rubber man, do the disappear. Jelly Jean, what's Sunday, Monday, what's that smell I hear? Marijuana, marijuana stereo. Marijuana, marijuana stereo. Take it, Michael.
Those memories are starting to fade away. But I like to hold on to the special ones.
What would you like to see your legacy as?
As a man who enjoyed life, enjoyed the lives of his friends, and who did what he could to make the world a better place and to create musical events that entertain people and that still entertain them and offer them an insight into other worlds and other possibilities that music does, because music opens other doors. It's a magic thing. It's a magic language.
Why are you making this movie?
Does this story even matter to you?
Are you trying to get Sigmund canceled?
Why are you giving him a platform?
How dare you?
Shouldn't you use a better camera?
Are you taking this seriously?
Who's even going to watch this?
Are you still working on that documentary about the musician?
Are you ever going to finish?
You're from Milwaukee, right?
You're not from Milwaukee?
How did you even hear about Snopek?
What's a Snopek?
How did you get Jay Leno in your movie?
Why can't you just make a normal documentary?
Do you even like documentaries?
Do you even like Sigmund?
Do you have a distributor?
Where can I stream this when it's finished?
How do you make money from this?
Did you go to film school?
Why didn't you interview Gordon Gaynor?
Why didn't you interview more women?
Couldn't you find any people of color?
Why is the lighting like that?
Isn't this all a bit self-indulgent?
Is this really your story
What's
to tell?
Sigmund going to make of all this?
Are you trying to offend people?
Is this a joke?
What are you trying to say?
Who cares?
So what?
Who do you think you are?
We're getting married!
The date was June 9th, 2019, and Sigmund and Denise's wedding was scheduled to occur on stage following their annual performance at Locust Street Festival, one of the city of Milwaukee's oldest neighborhood festivals. Located in the River West neighborhood, Locust Street Fest began in the 1970s after community activists successfully fought to stop developers from demolishing homes and businesses in order to expand Locust Street into a 4-lane boulevard.
Boy, talk about Exhibit A for the power of neighborhood spirit. River West is the most diverse and the most welcoming neighborhood in Milwaukee. And its location really determines a lot of its character. Locust was converted to a 4-lane, not quite a superhighway, but a big street right through the north side, the black section of Locust Street. And right at Holton, it would have done the same thing, knock out all these neighborhood businesses. And they said, nope, not going to happen. So politically, demonstrations, protests, they fought that to a standstill. So what happened was, now that all that traffic kind of funnels through Locust, and it goes from 4 lanes to 2. But you got a strong sense of place. Everything from performance spaces, like Linneman's, the Tracks, the Woodland Pattern Book Center. River West Pub was there. Outpost Co-op began there. There's a lot going on that street, and to have lost that, would have been tragic.
Given his history of blurring the line between art and life, Locust Street Festival was an oddly perfect venue for Sigmund's wedding. It struck Toady as a fitting metaphor, the culmination of the musician's entire career. All of Milwaukee was on the guest list, and Sigmund Snopek III was both the groom and the entertainment.
I'm really grateful that Sigmund got married recently. I think that's great. That's security, and his girlfriend, they seem really well suited for each other, and she's got a real job, she has health insurance, and today that is important. I thought it was interesting Sig had the wedding on stage after his show. It's so much like Sigmund.
Yeah, he's very big into the street theater, so when we got married, that was street theater at its finest, for God's sake. Get married in the middle of a street festival, and people are coloring shit on the ground in chalk, and people are waving plungers at us. Yeah, he definitely is very big into just grabbing whatever moment happens to exist and running with it. Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I kind of love him.
Like drunken astronauts, my clothes climb into a tin spaceship. Wave goodbye, in the dark space they dance and dance. In the dark space they dance. And they talk about the moon. They talk about the moon. They talk about the moon.
As Toady observed Sigmund and his audience of festival goers, the filmmaker decided that this would be his final trip to Milwaukee. Sigmund and Denise's wedding would serve as an appropriately happy ending, just as its setting was appropriately chaotic, beautiful, outrageous, and absurd. Nearly 2 years had passed since Toady first decided to make a documentary on Sigmund Snopek, and the filmmaker had discovered an even bigger story than he anticipated. At various points, the musician had struck him as a curiosity or prodigy, a novelty or a mystery, an inspiration or a cautionary tale, a sellout or a success, a fluke or a failure. And despite any pretenses of journalistic integrity or fly-on-the-wall objectivity, Toady admitted to himself that Sigmund had become something else as well, a friend. And though it was impossible to capture on camera, Toady also realized that he had become another part of the madness that was Sigmund's life. He and Milky were no different from all of the musicians and painters, writers and performers, friends, family, and fans surrounding Sigmund's stage. They had all been drawn like satellites into the orbit of Sigmund Snopek III. It was a life like a dream, a life full of spirits and visions and cosmic forces beyond control or understanding, a life that left more questions than answers. And Toady was content to leave that mystery intact, to wake from the dream into something stranger than life.
He doesn't
he doesn't want to fit into time like the rest of us. I think he knows how to live life the way he wanted to live it, you know, and do the things he wanted to do, and pursue the dreams he wanted to pursue.
I had taught rock history classes at Alverno College, which is on the south side of Milwaukee, for about 28 years. And so through that, I got a real sense of the normal canon of rock music and kind of the story that's told. And I had to do that semester after semester, but I really wanted to do things that were much more localized. I don't want the kind of rock star myth to be the only story anyone ever hears. It's just so overdone, and it misses so much. And so what it makes me appreciate about someone like Sigmund is that a lot of people just love playing. We love just playing in our teen first couple of bands and going down in the basement, maybe hardly ever playing for anyone. But my goodness, did he ever artistically, want to go farther.
I don't use the word genius lightly. I think it is applied to a lot of people who are definitely not geniuses. I don't think Snopek is a genius. He's an incredibly talented guy. He's a very hardworking guy. I've seen him, he writes his music with manuscript paper with a pencil, and I've just seen him sitting at a table in the sun drinking a margarita and just writing this stuff for hours and hours and hours. So we have no way of knowing what would have happened to Snopek if he moved to Los Angeles and became a film composer, for example, or if he moved to England and became a member of one of those English prog bands that he is musically inclined to. You can't play out alternative scenarios. He's definitely one of a kind. So I would put him, if you wanted to call him an eccentric genius, I would permit that, but with the emphasis on eccentric.
I mean, he's just plain folks. But then again, I think everybody is. We all shit and die, I think when you write a piece of music like Nobody to Dream, that, he's written some works that are immortal, that will give people listening pleasure from, for the millennia. And anyone who does that, you rip a hole in the zeitgeist, that makes you important.
Well, I'm not a big legacy person. I don't really think there is a legacy. I remember I was in Vegas once. I was at the Hilton. It's not the Hilton anymore, and I saw them walking by carrying a big life-size cutout of Elvis Presley. I said, "Oh, you guys putting an Elvis exhibit in?" He goes, "In? No, we're taking it out." Why are you taking it out? Nobody knows who he is anymore. All the fans are 80, So when they say, "Jay, how do you think you'll be remembered?" Look, they don't even remember Elvis, okay? They're taking his name, they're taking the exhibit down, so I don't even go there. To me, you only live in the time you live in, and the people who like you, and that's your legacy at that point. I don't know, history belongs to those who write it, and if you leave a huge treasure trove of music behind, possibly your legacy could go on a bit longer.
I mean, the radio show musicology has become a staple, and it's nice to have Snopek on because you can't get any more local than that, man. Yeah, he's like the grandfather of local music, right? I'm kind of glad we're doing it because the world needs to know who Snopek is. It's a pity, like you said in your book, when you're quoting Brian, I think it's the cover flap copy. He says, when Snopek is virtually an unknown, and that's a crime.
Lots of people over the years thought they knew who Sig was, thought they had Sig's number, thought they could predict where Sig was going or what would happen to Sig, or if Sig didn't have the femmes, what would Sig do, or if Sig didn't have this, what would Sig do, or what is he going to do 20 years from now? But he's defied. I think that he has defied everybody's expectations of who he was and what he is and what he will be till he's gone.
I think he's one of those artists that people will go back to and say, how do we miss that? How do we miss this genius? I guess for me, my biggest thing is that I wish that people would understand the depth of his artistry and what an amazing musician and like a national state treasure, Milwaukee treasure that he is. And if people really knew the depth of that, you know, it's mind-blowing, I guess, to me anyways. You know, I think it is. You know, it's pretty awesome. He's an amazing musician, and he, I just think that, you know, we as a culture need to honor our artists more, and he's one of them. So that's what I'd say. Yeah.
And if not, he'll reincarnate one more time.
Oh, he'll reincarnate as something even more cosmic.
Nobody's perfect. You know, we all have our faults. I don't know, I'm not trying to bash anybody, because he's taught me a lot. I'm thankful for a lot that he's done for me. He's done a lot for me, and I do not want to ever take away from that. You can't. I played a lot of gigs, played a lot of music, learned a lot of things. I had a great fucking time doing it. But, you know, we're all flawed. We're all human. We're all traveling through space at high rates of speed. Just trying to figure out what the hell's going on if we don't blow ourselves up. Maybe we can get off this rock.
Streets full of people, all alone. Roads full of houses, never home. Church full of singing, out of tune. Everyone's gone to the moon. Eyes full of sorrow, never wet. Hands full of money, all in debt. Sun coming out in the middle of June. Everyone's gone to the moon. Long, long ago, life had begun. Everyone went to the sun.
Thank you.
Cars full of motors, painted green. Mouths full of chocolate, covered cream. Arms that can only lift a spoon. Everyone's gone to the moon. Everyone's gone to the moon. Nice to see Michael Nelson on board. What is a friend? Is it someone who makes money off of you? Is it someone who can be funny with you? Is it worse than marriage? Is it pretending to understand? Is it understanding? Is it backstabbing? Is that good too? Is it someone who'll give you a ride when you want them to? Is it someone who actually hates you and is just using you? Is a friend stranger than life? How do you relate to it when it turns the knife? Is friendship something from the past that we left behind when we started burning gas? Burning, I'm burning. Is a friend stranger than life? How do you relate to it when it turns the knife? I guess there's nothing left to do. I just wish I had never put up those posters when it was 20 below, or was nice to strange children who came to my show. Is a friend stranger than life? How do you relate to it when it turns the knife? Is a friend stranger than life?
You are married as soon as I sign the certificate, the license.
Okay, that's right.
Okay. Party's on, folks.